First of all, why do I like 3-hit passives? Well, here's the deal. I am of the opinion that 3-hit passives are actually a very brilliant design, and I was of that opinion from day one when I saw it on Vayne, the wonderful marksman by David Voltiavakassis. True damage, great stuff. Basically, the reason I think 3 hits are so interesting is that they take a possibly boring pattern and give it a lot of tension and interest, and allow you to sell it very well visually. Let's use an example, right? Let's use Alistar's Ultimate. Alistar's Ultimate is a spell that I'm guessing a lot of players don't realize gives him 50 to 70 AD when he casts it. Like, when Alistar is in his ultimate, his auto attacks actually hurt a lot. But I'd argue there's actually a lot of players out there who don't notice much about it. I'd have the argument that it might actually be a good idea to give Alistar's ult a 3-hit passive, and here's why, right? If you have Alistar's ult and it says every attack you do does 50 damage, right? You're gonna go up to someone, and you're gonna hit them 3 times, and each attack is gonna be slightly more powerful, and we can't really like give those attacks special particles or anything, because they're all just like the same attack, right? And so like you're gonna feel like, meh, okay, I guess I get some more. That said, if you go up to that person, you give them a 3-hit passive that says the third attack does 175 damage and the first 2 attacks don't do anything, I think you get 2 wins there. First of all, the third attack is going to feel great. It's going to feel so freaking good because you can do a huge burst of damage and we can sell it with particles. We can like actually show like, we can add an extra sound, we can put particles in there. Like look at Jax's ultimate, right? Like Jax, you get that really satisfying like whomp when you hit a guy with a third hit. So that feels really good and really exciting. But then the other awesome part about a 3-hit passive is the first and second hit, even though they do no damage, still feel really, really good because there's build-up and tension on them. Every single hit is getting you somewhere. It's getting you to your end goal of the third one. And so even though the first 2 technically don't do anything, I'd argue they actually feel a lot better than the other 2 that they used to be where they just had 50 AD. And so that's why I think 3-hit passives are just a generally good mechanic that I actually really like. I know there's a joke that I put them all on my champions, but like, for me, the reason is like it gives this character this extended combat pattern that has really cool interspersion of high moments, while at the same time making every single attack feel better, even the ones that don't get the bursts of damage. So the second question was, do I think 3-hit passives are overused? And I would say yes and no. The yes part is, I admit, I've made a lot of them, and we should be watching out to make more, because when you use any mechanic a lot, it starts getting stale and stuff. That said, though, I would say that there's another argument that sometimes when we see a mechanic used a lot, we're like, oh, that mechanic X is being used a lot. It's overused. We should never use it. And it's like, that's not always true, because there are some mechanics that should just be on everyone. I'm not saying 3 hits are that. I'm not going to go that far. But let's say a hyperbolic example. League of Legends shipped, and about 25% of the champions had basic attacks. And the other 75% were mages, and we said, like, mages don't have basic attacks, right? There's a world where we actually realize, wait a second, basic attacking is really fun and really good for the game. We should put it on all the champions. And I'd assume in that world, a lot of people would say, well, now everybody has basic attacks. That's really boring, but it's just like, some mechanics should honestly just be on more things because they're a good baseline for you to build a game off of. And so I think one place we've done this a lot in the past is with percent max health damage. We've kind of said, like, actually this being a baseline for tanks is actually pretty good because it gives them a lot of threat in a fight that we think actually makes their kits a lot more interesting and healthy for us to deal with. And so again, I'm not going to say 3-hit passives are a baseline that we should have, but imagine, say, if most melee champions had them, right? I'd say it's possible that we actually might get a bit more interest in, say, the top-range melee-on-melee duels, because there's actually like times in fights where, like, if you get out, you've like denied them a proc, right? And then if you go in and stay in for the right amount of time, you've succeeded in getting a proc. And like interactions like that may actually create more interest in melee combat, which is something we've historically had trouble doing. And so again, not saying 3-hit passives are the future, but I am saying that, like, generally with any mechanic, we should always be looking to say, like, is this a mechanic we actually want to put on more things? And if it is, we shouldn't feel worried about saying, oh, it's stale. We just need to make sure we're doing it in the right way and not like overusing something that shouldn't be overused.